Sketch a graph of f of x equals x cubed and use this to sketch a graph of f inverse. Then use this graph to find an equation for f inverse. We've seen the graph of f of x equals x cubed a few times. It contains the point 0, 0, 1, 1, 2, 8, negative 1, negative 1, and negative 2, negative 8. If you don't remember this, you could make a table of values to sketch the graph yourself. But either way, we end up getting a graph that looks something like this. Going down to the left, and then up to the right. This is our graph of y equals f of x. Now, for the inverse function, we need to reflect this across the line y equals x. So we need to take each point that's on our graph, and we need to find its reflection on the other side. So if we look at the point up here, this is the point 2, 8. If we reflect it across the graph, we'll end up with the point 8, 2. And you can do this by either physically looking at the graph and trying to reflect them, or by remembering that we can switch the x and y coordinates. So if we start with 2, 8, that gets sent to 8, 2. The point 1, 1 stays exactly where it is because when we switch the x and y coordinates, we still have 1, 1. The same is true actually with 0, 0 and with negative 1, negative 1. However, negative 2, negative 8, when we reflect, becomes negative 8, negative 2, which is right there. Now, it might seem hard for you to figure out how exactly to connect these dots, but what we can do is we can also take the pieces of the graph and reflect them across this line. So if you see here, we've got this part of the original graph. If we reflect that across, it's going to look something like that. And then if we look at this part right here, if we reflect it to the other side, it's going to look something like this. So we can continue drawing it up there. Now we can reflect this piece, which is above that line, to this part down below. And then we can reflect this part that's down below with this part up above. And we end up with a graph that looks something like this. And this is the graph of y equals f inverse of x. Now we were asked to use this graph to find an equation for f inverse. And if we look at this, the right-hand side almost looks like the square root of x. However, we look at the point 8, 2. 2 isn't the square root of 8, it's actually the cube root of 8. And 1 is the cube root of 1, 0 is the cube root of 0. And we know that it's also moving down into the negatives, and we can take the cube root of negatives. So we can use a little bit of deduction to see that this looks very much like the cube root of x. It's interesting how we can use algebraic methods or graphical methods, geometric methods, to learn about inverse functions.